Well, I think in the short run, yes, it's very important that we have to sustain because our MSMEs don't have they're the largest number of MSMEs, but they don't have the financial width to take the hit. So we'll have to create some provision for that. You have to find a way out to cushion yourself. That's precisely what countries are doing it. India has been doing it with many countries.
Hello and welcome to TS Talk. Today we have with us Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. He needs no introduction. He's been India's envoy to several countries including the US and Russia. He's done extensive work on various foreign policy issues. It's great to have you with us, sir. Welcome to our show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Mawar. Thank you for
so
having
much,
me.
sir. Ambassador Trigunayat is now Distinguished Fellow with VIF. So let's start with the obvious. India-US relationship. I mean, we have seen this kind of a down kind of a thing after a long time. Now, do you think India could have or should have handled the situation better?
This is something is very obvious, yet it is very difficult to read the mind of President Trump. But if you were to see, it is not that the relationship with the US has always been hunky-dory. In virtually every administration, we have had some issues, some problems, but we weathered them in a very diplomatic and matured manner. This time, in fact, President Trump has come with the basic premise that he considers India as the tariff king. That it thinks that United States is being cheated and is playing the victim card that everybody is using their market. So the only tool that he wants is the tariff to be imposed. Now you can imagine that in the post-World War II scenario, when the GATT negotiations, the WTO negotiations and others started, the tariffs were really done away with. So the developing countries were provided with certain areas where they can continue to protect their markets, and the developed countries provided the market access in that. So both, in fact, enjoyed the benefits and the protection as well. But over time, what we are seeing is that the developed countries are becoming far more protectionist. I was Trade Commissioner in New York, and I have seen in the 90s how difficult it was. But then we were looking for different things. Trade is one dimension. Then you have trade in goods and services.
Absolutely.
Then you have trade in technology. And then you have the investments. So it has a multi-dimensional landscape. So we need to look at it from that perspective. But President Trump is simply coming from the point of view that A can't be equal to B. So, of course, trade is a two-way street. But at the same time, every country has a comparative advantage. And comparative advantage, countries with more labor intensive, some are more capital intensive, some are more technology intensive. So each one has their own market share, marketplace and edge, and that's how the complementarity in the international trading system works. But over time we have seen the WTO has been completely neutralized. So you have no really international mechanism to go to, and that has been done by the countries, especially the United States, which has undermined the multilateral institutions which they themselves had established.
Absolutely.
So you can't talk a liberal trading order today or anything. So I would say that as far as India is concerned, he has been mentioning it all the time. But we have a global comprehensive strategic partnership, which means trade is one aspect of that. But there are other dimensions to it, which is also in a greater geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomic sense equally important or more important than simple trade. They are our largest trading partner, but we don't figure very prominently in their trade this thing, the very small fraction. So they think that they can do it. But what they have done, the approach that they have taken is that while we are discussing and negotiating a bilateral trade agreement, at that time when they don't give opportunity for the trade negotiations to succeed, then it speaks of an ulterior thinking that you don't want it to be completed. Okay, 6th of July, both sides had agreed in the last fifth round of negotiations that there is some kind of a format we have. President Trump didn't like it. People went back to the drawing board. Now they were supposed to meet some other time. So before they even meet, you place 25%. And then suddenly out of the blue you come up with a fake kind of a narrative.
Absolutely.
That because you are importing Russian oil is not sanctioned oil. Even if unilateral sanctions, which India does not recognize. So it is not sanctioned, it's a capped. So we are buying within the cap. So we are not violating anything apart from our own national interests. So in this kind of a situation, when somebody takes a vertical position, it becomes increasingly difficult to negotiate with any reasonable amount. It's always a give and take. And that's what precisely we were doing. And now, since we are the global comprehensive strategic partnership, what it demands, basically, or implicit, that you really take care of the sensitivities of your partner.
Of each other, basically.
Yes, it's very important. So when India is saying that our agriculture sector, opening agriculture sector or MSMEs would hurt our economy and our people, you must give due credence to that.
What do you think Indian businesses, Indian government should do? A lot of talks are happening on how the government should come out and provide support to a few sectors, to MSMEs. Do you think that would really help the economy, help exporters?
Well, I think in the short run, yes. It's very important that we have to sustain, because our MSMEs don't have the largest number of MSMEs, but they don't have the financial width to take the hit. So we'll have to create some provision for that. But this can't be an open-ended kind of a thing. It'll have to be seen sectorally, and how much harm is being done to a industry by a certain tariff. At the same time, we'll have to continue to tell the Americans and keep on, because diplomacy is what is like. You have to one day tell them that this is the policy that you're doing is not going to be good for you also. At the same time, I always say that we must branch out. We must go to other countries. We must develop new currency mechanisms, not to displace dollar, but to reduce the transaction costs.
But how do you think that can be, that plan can be pursued, considering that the US has already threatened countries which even think of coming out with some kind of a currency which is alternate to the dollar?
You know, it's again putting the cart before the horse. You know, what is this? Like, for example, who created it? This whole talk of de-dollarization began after the Russia-Ukraine war, when the West tried to do the weaponization of financial instruments. They confiscated $300 billion of the Russian money in their banks. They shut them out of SWIFT. It caused a major problem and concern across the world, not only with Russia. Russians have weathered it. But I understand now President Trump is going to unfreeze that amount also. So that's something between them bilaterally. But at the same time, countries like, if I'm sitting in India and I say I have $100 in your bank, and you are going to take it away and say it's not yours anymore. I mean, so you have to find a way out to cushion yourself. That's precisely what countries are doing it. India has been doing it with many countries. We are having the rupee-ruble trade, rupee real trade, rupee other currencies. So this is something, and it used to be, it's an age-old thing, you know, barter. It started with barter, and then it's a good thing for us. So we'll continue to do so. So every country is doing today, and the more the US pursues that policy, the problem that does not exist, if they want to create this problem, I am 100% sure that there would be a faster de-dollarization than otherwise.
That's interesting what you said, that in case he really actively pursues a kind of a anti-de-dollarization exercise, that will actually boomerang.
That's absolutely.
Considering the uncertainty that is probably expected to, the uncertainty is expected to remain with Trump administration, with back and forth policies, how do you think India should prepare itself, to deal with the issue on a policy level?
You see, the uncertainty and unpredictability
is probably going to stay. Of
President Trump is the most predictable thing. If you come to think of it. I mean, if he did not prepare for it or did not think about it for when he was out of power and he was talking everything and what he did in the past, I mean, so even as you know, in the past, he took us out of the GSP benefit regime. He imposed sanctions on us. So it was very much expected that this is a line he'll take. Even he became the president, took oath as the second time. He was talking about India being a tariff king, India doing this and that. So we need to prepare. Our guardrails should have been up by then. So this is very important. But we are finding a way, and I'm quite sure by the time there are reports that Prime Minister might meet him in New York in September. So that would perhaps help assuage some of the issues that are there and the feelings as well.
Talking about the SCO summit, now of course everybody is waiting to see how Mr. Modi and Mr. Xi Jinping, what the meeting really focuses on, what are the kind of bilaterals that would be really coming out of it. How do you see the situation?
Well, I think that SCO and the BRICS, these are the two organizations that are developing quite well. We have our issues with China, of course. Boundary issue is one of the biggest. But then we have lived with it for a long time. It was only till the Chinese breached at Galwan that situation became really worse. And now the Chinese have realized that India will stand eyeball to eyeball with them. And they don't want, they have so many problems themselves. They have started after Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping met in Kazan. They have tried to solve some of these problems and concerns. So there has to be, as I says, mutual respect is very important for each other. Mutual sensitivity is also. We cannot always forget the issues like boundary, the issues like supporting indirectly terrorism through Pakistan. Those are important issues. Shanghai Cooperation Organization was essentially built to counter terrorism, provide security. And if you probably know that Russia wanted India to be part of the SCO for a different geopolitical reason. Chinese wanted, they said if India is going to come, Pakistan has to come. So we both joined together. But Pakistan is a state which is indulging in cross-border terrorism as an instrument of its foreign policy against India. So how do you deal with that? And that's precisely is the issue that is going to be dealt with. This was done by NSA, this has been done by Defense Minister, this has been done by the Foreign Minister of India, and this has been told to them. So I think that they will find, they are very smart, Chinese. So in that sense, they will find a way how to assuage the concerns of India in this regard. The highlight of this whole visit is basically going to be Prime Minister Modi's bilateral meet with President Xi Jinping, which now already, as we know, that Foreign Minister Wang Yi will be coming here within the context of the special representative meeting, and our NSA was there.
Which itself is a big
which is a big thing, but this is normal actually. Whenever you have a important bilateral visit, the foreign minister of the country does travel to work out on what kind of agreements this can be done. So we are doing confidence building measures. It's also a reality that China is our biggest neighbor. And Chinese have to learn to live with us, a growing India, resurgent India, and India has to live with this reality that China is. And the Chinese hegemonistic designs are something that are going to play out in the SCO, everywhere else. And we'll have to work out around it so that our message is very clear, that we can't be railroaded by either US or China.
US-Pakistan relationship, it's a new chapter. How do you think China is going to deal with it?
Well, China, that is going to be a problem for Pakistanis, not for us. I mean, that's a complication that they have brought out. But historically, if you come to think of it, I mean, I always say that Pakistan somehow knows how to encash its nuisance value with all the superpowers. They were the one in 1974, they acted as a conduit between US and China, Nixon's visit and all that. So since then it has happened. This is the second time that's likely to happen, because once again the US-China relations are at the worst stage, or rather they are trying to work together something. The Pakistan in that sense has a certain geostrategic advantage for them. Secondly, they are always on their feet outside, trying to curry favor from this. And it's a small country, they know they are in the docks. So they are just trying to do that. The military leaders are always up and about and trying to just curry favor from XYZ. So they don't have a policy. Their only policy is anti-India, nothing else. So US is also trying to win them away a little bit from China. So that is going to be how the Pakistani political dispensation, and of course there is nothing like political dispensation in the country, it's all military dispensation, will deal with this issue. And how far the Chinese will let them be, because today, as far as according to me, maybe diplomatically not correct, but I'm no longer a diplomat, that Pakistan has become a state of China. So they totally are under their control, but they need USA also. So there is the military has a very well embedded relationship with the US military, with their Pentagon, with others, which we have seen the outcome of that very quickly when President Trump tried to woo them a little bit. But Pakistan is a non-NATO ally. It has always been friendly, and most often USA has used it as some kind of I would say, negotiating leverage against India.
RIC, Russia, India, China, do you think this bloc will once again get a push in this new geopolitical situation?
You see, I was in Moscow at the time when Prime Minister Primakov floated this idea in 2000s about the RIC, Russia, India, China. At that time, we had debunked it completely, thinking that this would create some kind of a bloc impression. It was not supposed to be a bloc. Then think tanks, then it moved forward and it became the foreign ministers and state. So there's nothing, no harm. I mean, we are all three neighbors in different ways, Eurasia, in the Eurasian context. It so happens that today, all three of them are being looked at by the United States as adversaries. Or at least in behavioral terms, they are being treated as adversaries. So what do you do in that sense? What you're trying to do, you are trying to coalesce this kind of a grouping into something more which it is not. Now from BRIC became BRICS. All the three are in the BRICS also. They are all in SCO also. So there are no dearth of mechanisms for these three countries to interact. But what is going to be the outcome of the RIC? I mean, we have to see, which is not there in the BRICS or Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So, what is the exclusivity of the RIC, except that all three are there? So, definitely, I mean, it could be a strategic tool for India to some extent, but whether we are going to exercise it remains to be seen.
Putin's visit later during the year, Putin's visit to India, how do you think that can sort of help the situation, or whatever, how do you see that?
Well, first let us wait what happens on August 15 between President Trump and President Putin. Both are strong men, and what comes out of their visit will always... I have always maintained that good or working US-Russia relations could have averted a lot of issues which are happening. But the deep state in both the countries thinks differently, and that's why we are at a position where we are. As far as India and Russia are concerned, Russia has been a true friend. Prime Minister Modi says a trusted friend, time-tested friend, and they have always stood with us, irrespective of their closeness to China, even today. And therefore, I feel that Prime Minister Modi just spoke to him before a few days ago. He will be meeting him in Beijing, in China also, Tianjin. And then he comes here. Russia is one of the few countries with which we have this annual summit. And they are very important because before the summit, there are many things are worked out. There are several commissions and several interactive mechanisms between the two countries which have been institutionalized. And so there are issues, apart from the global issues, there are bilateral issues. They need to be worked out. Like for example, recently the Russian refinery Naira Energy has been sanctioned by or Microsoft is not providing them services, something like that. Those are important issues for the Russians, because we have been asking them that whatever the surplus rupees they have, they can invest in India. Now that needs to be immune from these kind of external sanctions. So I think that there are too many moving parts in this whole thing. But as far as India-Russia relationship is concerned, I believe that it stands on a very strong footing.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you for watching.
Pleasure.
See you soon.